10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, good evening, good evening. This is John Allen with the show We the People, and we're here every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. to 7, and we're on WLTH Radio live. And the disclaimer, the views expressed by the host and callers of the show are not necessarily the views of WLTH management, owners, advisors, and sponsors. And we're here to share actionable information. We're here for the community to call in, and they can also share their information regarding uh, anything they want, particularly business and small business and civics. And we hope to make a difference by giving information about how we can improve our quality of life here on the ground. And if I wanted to say it was one thing that defined our our credo here, or our creed would be self-assertion and self-help. So we all about that. So with that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit or segue into a phone call. So let me take this phone call and then we'll go into the subject matter we're going to talk about. WLTH, caller, you're on air.
Hi, John. This is Lucia Tate. I was just calling in to just let you know that I like the things that you're doing in the community, and also that myself and Benjamin White has a business that's located in the Gary community.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about your business, Miss Lakeisha.
My business is called Tate Writing Service, and what we do is grant writing for small businesses, nonprofit organizations for the community.
Okay. And I had a little experience with dealing with Miss Keisha's non-for-profit. When we had the nation's event space, Miss Keisha's non-for-profit did a Thanksgiving dinner. Do I remember correctly?
That is correct.
Yeah, she did a Thanksgiving dinner for the general public at our facility that used to be at 624 Broadway, Nations. And we look forward to working together again in the future and doing some activities like that again. And I had a great time with her organization. And you guys need any grant writing, you should call Miss Keisha. And Miss Keisha, I asked for you to offer your number over the air so people that are interested in getting some grant writing done can contact you.
Yes, the number is 219-883-9099. And that's 219-883-9099.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
We have another caller. Caller, you on the air at WLTH.
Hi, this is Shada Patel. I'm calling on behalf of Proper Odor Management. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing, Miss Patel?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for taking the call.
So it's my understanding you guys have a business and you actually have some property. If I recall correctly, you have a few properties here in Gary. You're investing here in Gary, in Northwest Indiana in general, but you happen to have some in Gary where the station is at. That's why I brought that up. But
That's correct.
tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing and what your business goals are here in Northwest Indiana.
Well, awesome. So primarily, our goal is to really try to bring attention to the potential and the history and culture that's in Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
Our owner is actually a former resident of Gary, Indiana. He was brought up in the neighborhood of Northwest Indiana, and he truly believes in this community, and so that's where Property Owner Management has been investing in Gary, and is continuing to support towards investing in more properties in Gary. We primarily invest in affordable housing, and we're hoping to eventually get into development. But for the time being, our properties are focused on providing workforce housing to our local community, where it's affordable, they are comfortable, family-friendly, neighborhood-oriented environments, and the rent is within the market range to keep it affordable. We work extremely diligently with our tenants to make sure that if there's any concerns with affordability or with credit, that we can make them able to have a opportunity to live in a comfortable and inviting home environment.
Okay.
As our grants fall, we work with for all former veterans, so we're very motivated to work with not only work with local, Northwest Indiana residents, but also experience veteran background. We're very motivated to serve our country back and continue serving our country. And really, we love working with local leadership and being there in community success. So it's kind of what we're about.
Okay, that's great. I always love to hear about local business and small businesses. And I look forward to probably having Blake come on the show and talk a little bit about working and developing property. I may have him on a panel that I may have here where we're talking about working here and offering affordable properties.
Get ready. He's a talker. We would love the opportunity to have that discussion with you, because I know Blake has some pretty grand visions about what he thinks that is the options and opportunities coming up, especially with development. I don't know if you knew, but he actually is a resident of Gary, like proper Gary. He has a home in Emerson, and he is wanting to make that community vibrant and bring it back to its original glory again. There's so much history there. There's so much, potential there, and it's coming back in pockets. But it's our goal is to connect those pockets together to make this a safe, a family-friendly environment, and to bring back jobs into that community. Really, just kind of turn things around. Which really, with or without it, they're already happening. We're excited to be a part of it. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Okay. Okay. With that being said, I like I said, I'm very, very pro small business, and at any time I'm willing to digress a little bit on the show to talk about a local business. So if you know anyone that's in business and they're in a local business and they want to call in, they're more than welcome to call in. And I meant what I said. Eventually, what I'm going to do is put together a panel sooner or later of business entrepreneurs, small business people. Some of them are in the same field, so we can talk about things in those fields or different things civically that affect those fields. With that being said, I did have someone here in the studio. They kind of wanted to ask me something or either make a comment or give insight about the civic situation. How we doing?
Yeah, hello, John. Wanted to ask a question relative to the conversations that people have all the time about local government, and they say the word they. Now, it's interesting that your show is called We the People. So there's we and then there's they. Can you make the distinction for us so we understand what that conversation called they is?
Okay. In my book, the they conversation is not always a good conversation. It's one of my pet peeves. The people who use the blanket term they. So I give a couple examples. This morning I was on the phone with a really, really good friend that I've known about 25 years. And we were talking about the issuance of the cannabis licenses over in Chicago. And I don't know if you guys know, recently we had somebody run for Senate, and part of their platform is that they wanted to make marijuana legal. So this is how this topic get brought up with us. So anyway, he was saying that, they just want to make money. They just want something for people to be addicted to so they can control them. And in reality, the regulations of the licensing of marijuana was a lottery done over in Illinois, particularly in Chicago. It was a lottery, and they were practicing what they call equity in the distribution and issuing of the licenses. And they were making sure some felons even get licenses for the marijuana, because it was kind of a hell of a thing. I met this one guy, he did 31 years for a marijuana case. And when he left prison, the week he left prison, he saw the legalization of marijuana on the billboard leaving the prison. I mean, he read about it, but that's a hell of a thing. One of the first things you see upon your release is the legalization of marijuana, and you just did 30 calendars over it. But anyway, back to this thing about they. So a lot of times people in their legitimate gripes, they say they. On this show, we want to identify who they is. And we want to name who they are, not to make they uncomfortable. That way we can be aware and informed enough to address the issues with the appropriate they. And also, we can't repeat incorrect information and spread incorrect information. A lot of times we'll say they did this, they did that, and the person we're talking to do something about it, they have no jurisdiction, they have no authority. They the person or the party play no role in the issue we're trying to address. I'll give you an easy example. I remember one time I was at one of the mayor's community meetings, and a woman stood up and she got on top of the mayor after him with a grievance about the U.S. mail. The U.S. mail is federal. The mayor doesn't control the mail, but she doesn't know. So you would see, or like I was reading an article about the $30 million is being spent into the Boys and Girls Club. And then I get a comment on social media say, they need to fix the street lights. The money appropriated from that is totally unrelated to the Department of Transportation or infrastructure money or whatever funds we use for street lights, you know. So sometimes it's important to know so we can direct our asks, which usually our ask is a good ask, ASK is a good ask. I have a lazy tongue sometimes, those of you probably notice it, and I won't put the K on ask. And at any rate, we don't want they to be some unknown. And on this show, sometime we're going to make they uncomfortable because we're going to do call outs and ask they to talk to us a little bit about the problems that we have and what we can do to assert ourselves to help. We got another caller. I'm going to take the caller. This is WLTH caller. You're on the air.
I am so glad you're going to stop using that word faith. I listen every day to WLTH from morning to night. And they always want that they. What they are we talking about? So I really appreciate you going to call names, and because that's the only way to stop a lot of this what's going on. Let the public know who they are, and you have a good evening.
That's great. Let me ask your opinion. What do you think about we having a bi-weekly segment called Who They Are? And we identify the theys and we explain what they do. We don't do it in an arbitrary or negative way, but we identify theys and what they do, what their role are, what their office are, what their duties are, and how to contact they. What do you think about that?
She hung up.
Okay, so the caller had hung up, but I think that would be a good idea. So let's say, for example, I had a problem one day at the clerk's office, right? I had a clerk tell me that I can't leave a document without being an attorney. And that's fine if it was a real rule. It's not. It was an active case that I was representing myself in, and I wanted to file a document in the case. And I was asked, are you an attorney? I said, no, you don't understand. I'm pro se. And the case is already active with my name on it as the plaintiff, and I'd like to file a court document. Then the clerk said, well, you have to give me your identification, your driver's license. So I'd never known that it being a rule that you have to prove who you are to submit a document in your own case. But I complied. I didn't want to be a jerk, so I complied. Then she scanned my ID unbeknownst to me. I'm thinking she just looking at my ID so she could document who coming in filing documents. And she scanned my ID, and later I'm online in my case, looking up my case to see if I got a court ruling or answer back from the plaintiffs, the defendants rather, I'm the plaintiff. And I see my ID in the case file online for the whole public to see, my driver's license number, my address where I live, my photo. So the clerk staff wasn't aware not to scan my ID and file it with my pleading as an attachment and post it in the public record. So my ID was online for everybody to see, my driver's license. So identity theft person could have got a hold of that. They got my birthday, they got my address, they got my driver's license number, right? And they maybe could do something with that. So obviously I was livid. So naturally, say if that happened right now. So we're going to talk about they. So let me tell you what I do about they doing that to me. I would contact Mr. Mike Brown because he's the circuit court clerk. So that would be the they in that issue, Mr. Mike Brown. So that's an example of how we want to explain how you address the they. And with that being said, it's time for a commercial break again.
So,
Okay, well, it's not time for a commercial break. I'm sorry, it's the end of the show. It's 6:58. Wow, how time flies. I appreciate the callers, and I promise to have some very interesting guests, including some of they. And you guys have a great night, and thank you for listening to We the People with John Allen.